Hey everyone, welcome to Listen Love Connect and happy early Valentine's Day. Today's guest host is Somi, and we thought that since Valentine's Day is just around the corner, we are going to be talking about self-love is self-care. Because who better to give love to than yourself? Exceptional Heroes brings you Listen, Love, Connect. All right, so we're talking about self-love, self-care today, right?
Yes, we're in the month of love.
So yay! I mean, there's a lot of mixed feelings with this month.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do not celebrate Valentine's Day. I do not.
Really?
But I know a lot of people that do. So, that's what we do. We're bringing discussions that, many people feel differently about. Everybody's not always going to agree. And so we're in the month of love, and we're talking self-care and self-love. And I think the first thing, though, is just, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What is self-love? What is self-care? And, how do those two intertwine?
And I think how they intertwine, and I think it's something that needs to be practiced all the time, not just in the month of February.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that statement. So in your opinion, how would you define self-love?
For me, I would think when it first comes to mind when someone says self-love, I feel like you have to think of something that you love about yourself. Okay. And it brings uncomfortable feelings because I don't like to do I do stuff to take care of myself, to give myself love? Yes, but it's not something that I'm consciously thinking of. Of course, I try to practice what I preach. But when it comes to thinking about it, it brings very uncomfortable feelings. But yeah, what I think about self-love is what you love about yourself.
And so, and I appreciate your honesty in that, because just saying, in my years of working with people, whenever I bring this topic up, you get mixed reactions to it. Some people are like, it's uncomfortable. They're like, what do you mean? Can you give me examples? So for me, in my understanding of self-love, I think the word itself is self-explanatory, but not.
Yes.
It's just essentially like, what are you doing on a daily basis to love yourself? It's so interesting. Lately, I've been doing love languages assessments with some of my clients. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Gary Chapman years ago wrote this book called The 5 Love Languages. And of course, everybody jumped on it. It's Gary Chapman, and everybody, he even then adapted it and did 5 love languages for kids. So the first one was morally for adults. But interesting enough, the spin that I've taken on it, because many times people do that assessment, they're thinking about, I need to find out what my top 3 love languages are, so I can tell my partner or whoever I'm in a relationship, or if it's a parent with a kid, so that you give that to that individual. So I kind of flipped it a bit, because of this lack of self-love that I repeatedly see with people. And I said, I'm doing this evaluation or this, assessment, because I want you to know what your love languages are, the top 3 or the top 2, so that you can give it to yourself.
Yes.
So the 5 love languages are, oh my gosh, I need to make sure I don't say the wrong thing here. So quality time, it's words of affirmations, it's gifts, it's touch, and the 5th one is acts of service. So the notion is that everybody fits in one of,
Yeah.
they have a top love language, and then it kind of trickles down from there. So, recently with a client, I said, once we did the assessment, I think her number one was acts of service. And I said, okay, so your assignment for this week is I want you to take your top 3 love languages, and I want you to love yourself. And she's like, Somi.
That would probably be my reaction.
Yeah. She's like, well, my top love language is acts of service. How do I give myself acts of service? And I said, here's the thing. What you don't give to yourself, or you don't embody yourself, neither you're not in a position to give to other people, but more importantly, it makes it difficult for other people to give you what they don't see you embodying, that you're not already giving yourself. So it's from that space of loving yourself very intentionally, and with that language that works for you, that your partner or your child or whomever you're in relationship, whether, professionally or whatever, can now see and, oh my gosh, well, Savanna is really big about giving herself quality time, whether you express that or you're embodying that. And because we are people that we act based on modeling. We train people how to treat us is really the phrasing. And so if someone sees you not loving yourself in a certain way that you claim you want to be loved, they're more likely not to either love you or be consistent with giving you that love.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's just, trying to make all this stuff very relatable, very like basic, no need for the clinical mumbo jumbo and, everyone showing their education or intelligence. I'm like, we don't have time for that. Like,
no.
Give it to people really, easy.
And I feel like that kind of like explains what self-care is. It's like with your client, you told her to like love on herself, and that her service was love, which goes into self-care and how they intertwine.
So funny enough, especially from a mental health standpoint, there's this constant dialogue about self-care. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a center that deals with foster care children yesterday. And one of the questions posed to me is, how do you provide self-care for, how do you provide self-care? And I just absolutely love that question, because I am the queen, not the queen, but I'm very intentional, have been, about self-care. And one of the things that I would say in just defining what that is do not put it in a box.
Yeah.
The comprehensive understanding and definition of self-care encompasses just so many things, and depending on the individual, it could mean a lot of things. So for me, my self-care is yoga, it's meditation, it's painting, it's walking or running, it's cooking, it's spending quality time with my son or people that are dear and to me. It's taking a long bath, it's massages, whether professionally, myself or my, a partner. It's silence sometimes, it's turning off the phone, it's turning off, not answering any emails after a certain time. I had this thing that recently I've not been great at it, but I go back to it, where 10 o'clock, my phone will not accept any calls, any text messages that are not emergencies. So I always tell people, if it's an emergency, if you or something I need to respond to right away, you need to indicate that. You need, because at least with my iPhone, if you call back 2 or 3 times in a row, it will click in like, hey, Somi, you need to take this call. So those are, you know, self-care for me is, what are the little things in your life that you can do, that you do on a daily basis to care for yourself? And I, you know, kind of look at it as if, one of the things I always think about is like how I was taking care of my son when he was younger, or even now. It's like, I put him in categories. What am I doing for my mind, my body, and my spirit? So every day I find one thing to care for myself mentally. It could be reading, it could be writing, it could be learning something new. Spiritually, it could be yoga, meditation, prayer, silence. And body-wise, exercise, even just healthy food, being out in nature, letting the sun, you know, just pour into me all its vitamin D. So even just breaking it down in that sense, mind, body, spirit, and pick in each one of those areas one thing as a form of self-care. So for you though, how would you define self-care for you, and what are your experiences of self-care?
Well, one that just pops out is showers. I love showers. It's my quiet time. Sometimes I rock out to music, just depends. Hanging out with family is a big one. My animals, of course, huge on my animals. Going on, so things that I do that include my animals that with self-care are like bike rides, walking, just doing a bunch of stuff. To be honest, me and my family, and it's just how we've always been, are very spontaneous. So sometimes like, I don't know, like me and my sister plan on going on a hike. So it's not our normal self-care thing, but that's what we're going to do for our self-care, for our dog self-care. It's just something we want to do, and we're able to incorporate what we love, which is our dogs. But yeah, showering is a big one for me, and it's something I get to do every day. Physically would be walks, walking or bike riding. Yeah. But when you asked me this yesterday when we were preparing, I was not sure, and I came prepared. I had to think really good, but I did it.
Well, I appreciate that you thought about it, because I know in the time that I've known you, I'm like, Savanna, you do a lot for self-care. So it was interesting. But the other part about it is I also know that I'm very about, you know, letting people come to the awareness or the understanding on their own. And if anything, I'm very focused on just getting people to think a little bit. So I tend to ask questions that catch people off guard. But I think that's such a beauty in it, because it gets you to reevaluate and look at things in a way that you may not have before, and to really think, like, instead of, you know, do I even practice self-care? And then you think about it, I'm like, of course I do. Look at all these things that you just mentioned. So that's beautiful. I love that.
And for you guys who are watching, think about it. Maybe you are applying self-care and you have no idea.
Yes.
Because self-care is anything that, for me, brings you joy, brings you peace of mind, and brings you some happiness.
Oh yeah, I forgot another one, because I do it almost every morning, especially with my brother transitioning. He absolutely loved to dance. I love to dance too, but I can definitely say he definitely was, dancing is in his spirit. And funny enough, it's in Maro's spirit too. Like,
oh.
So every morning I make it, and sometimes even at night, I make it a point to dance. And this morning, that was a part of my self-care. And I can't tell, you know, like you said, if it brings you peace, if it brings you joy, it brings you happiness, you know, those are the things that invigorate us and inspire us, and just put us in a space, mental and emotional space, to you know, knock the day out of the park. And I have to admit, today was unreal because after my dance session with my brother, I was like, yo, let me at it. Bring the day. Let's do that. So my cup is full and overflowing.
And don't forget that self-care is, we said a little bit earlier, is doing mental health days.
Yes.
Or mental health moments, because I know like with work and everything, bosses can be a little strict, but take the weekend. If you have a day off, that is your mental health day to just focus on you.
Yeah, no, I mean, do you remember?
I hated them.
2 years ago. So one of the things, so Savanna is very driven, and she which is there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, given her experiences and the assault, she was navigating a lot. And just so much, you were just putting so much pressure on yourself. And I remember one time I was like, yo, I need to introduce some mental health days for this woman. And I remember I said to you, I was like, so Savanna, part of your homework for this week is I want you to take at least one mental health day. And you looked at me like I had told you that, I don't know, it was like, Somi, what the hell? And you were like, but you had every excuse. And I said, Savanna, I just tried out because it's just, if you try it, it doesn't work. It's not for you. That's what the beauty of therapy or, getting support is, that it's not a one size fits all. So you try something, it doesn't work, then you try something else, you leave that, or maybe in that moment, it's just, you weren't quite feeling it. So I didn't push too much. I just said, just consider it. But now
I love them.
Now, Miss Savanna over here is the queen of, I'm taking a mental health day. Like, see you guys later. And I should say, like, for people that do content on social media and a lot of their activities on social media, a good mental health practice is a social media detox.
Yes.
That's one of, and this, like, I don't know what to call my relationship that I have with social media. In the last year, I only have Instagram now. That's the only social media platform, if you will. And if you consider WhatsApp, but WhatsApp for me is more communicating with my friends from like internationally than it is social media situation. But I know they're all owned by the same company. But those detox from social media, they are imperative.
Yes.
My favorite phrase this year is, nobody is above blocking and deleting.
That is correct.
I tell all the people that, I'm like, listen, if it's going to disrupt my peace in any way, shape, or form,
yes,
I will not hesitate to block or delete you. And I will tell you I'm blocking and delete you. I just did it the other day. I got a message and I was just like, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. And so I just politely said, at this stage in my life, I come first. That is self-care. It's not selfish, it's self-care. So maybe later on, as I evolve and you evolve, there's a chance that dialogue can be, but right now, it's not working out for me. So I'm going to have to block you. And so if they responded, I don't know, because they got blocked. I didn't wait for a response, because a lot of times when you tell people you're going to block them, then they want to go or then they want to become even more abusive in their language.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, no, we're shutting it
Yeah.
down. But go ahead.
Okay,
You were going to say
okay.
something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for those of you who like feel like, well, how am I have to feed the kids and do this. Set schedules for yourself. My mom and I used to work until sometimes 12 o'clock at night for Exceptional Heroes. And this new year, she saw that I was putting a bedtime on myself and stuff. So she wanted to do that too. And so we have certain hours of working, and then that's it. And even in the morning, we put a little side for ourselves, and then we get to work. It's just setting a schedule for yourself. And sometimes routine is key.
Oh, absolutely. It's so interesting that you said that, because today, and I'm looking at my phone because I want to say it properly, but today on WhatsApp, I posted this, and like I got a lot of responses from it. And I usually post things that I feel will, especially from a mental health standpoint or emotional standpoint, even a spiritual standpoint, would be helpful for people. So I posted this where I said, let me read exactly what it says. It says, it takes 21 days to start a habit. Mm-hmm. So people always thought it took 21 days to form a habit. It takes 21 days to start the habit. It takes 12 weeks to find a groove. It takes 6 months to lock it down, 1 year to like, for it to be kind of be who you are, you embody it, like, and you look forward to it. You're like, oh my gosh, I did do this today. It takes 1 year for that, for it to be that way, and 2+ years to make it a part of your identity, where you can't live, it's just who you are. You can't live without this, thing. And then it says, when you set a habit, these are your milestones. So, for me, I'm like, especially because of, the work I do, when people are like, oh, I tried it. I'm like, how many days did you try? Oh, I tried it for 2 days and it didn't work. And I was like, well, let's try it for 3 weeks. And they're like, 3 weeks, every day I have to do this for 3. And I said, the intention is to change your lifestyle, intention is to really embody and have a good understanding of what self-love and self-care is. Nothing less than 21 days is going to get you in that pattern, in that groove that you desire. And nothing less than 21 days is going to set you on the path of a different trajectory. Sorry, I can't speak today. But anyhow, so, I totally agree with you. The routines are important. We start off doing routines with children, and then somehow adults, we somehow abandon it or think that those routines are not, necessary. Now, as long as they're good routines.
Yes.
They're good and healthy.
Good routines. We don't want no bad.
That's what we're talking about. That, that's the other stuff that sometimes trickles in.
Yes. And it's funny that you're saying that, like, takes 21 days, 2 years and all that, because even I've been doing it since like the 3rd week of January. And I'm still editing my routine. There's like, oh, maybe I'll tweak this a little bit because it might be better, or this might need a change or be taken out because can't do it type thing. And usually they're the negative things that just need to be taken out. But right. It's definitely a learning curve when you're starting a routine.
Absolutely. And this is not, of course, we're having this dialogue. It's a very necessary dialogue, but I also want to make sure that people don't feel judged or criticized in any shape or form, because that's not what this is about. This is about education. This is about sharing. It's about hopefully extending the dialogue within your space and your circle. You guys talk about that, brainstorm. How do you love yourself and how do you take care of yourself? Because they are intertwined, Yes. Love yourself is to have self-care, and to exhibit and flow in self-care is to say that you love yourself. So, the way in essence, they're one and the same in many ways. And
Yes.
so I don't want us to get so bogged down on definitions or, that kind of stuff. It's just take inventory of your life.
Yes.
But if anything, I can stress is every day. And like I said, break it down, whether it's mind, body, spirit, or whatever way you want to break it down. But every day you should be doing something to love on yourself, caring for yourself every single day. I don't care how small it is. We start small. Everything you do in a building manner is in increments. Steps are small, Kids don't come out of the womb walking.
And trust me, I was not this way when Somi first met me. Did I take care of my mental health? Yes, but I didn't know about it. And it wasn't to the extent of today.
Oh, yeah. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, when I see you now and you tell me, or I see you doing videos about mental health days or your self-care and the things you're doing to just love on yourself, it just brings me so much joy. And that's really why I do all what I do. It's like, I really genuinely want to see people thrive.
Yeah.
And to see people live the life that I know is available to them. And society throws at us all these external things that are contrary to self-love and self-care. And I'm just like, guys, let's get back to the very basics.
Yes.
Just simple things like taking that moment in the morning. That's an act of self-love, self-care. Listening to yourself, another act of self-care and, love and self-care. Gosh, like I said, all the other things we talk about, you're preparing a meal, a healthy, good meal that is going to nourish you inside out. That's an act of self-care and self-love.
Yes.
All these things should not be taken for granted. And sometimes we have this tendency to focus on, I'm not doing enough. And I'm like, baby steps.
Yeah.
You just do it yourself. Love on yourself.
Yes.
And, let's keep going.
Yes. I mean, this was a great discussion, Somi. We talked about so much, and I will put a link right here so that you guys can see some more mental health things. Me and Somi've done yoga. I've done some other workouts and other mental health day things that you guys can get ideas from so that you can be like, well, is it just meditation? No, it's not just meditation. Although breathing is important, there is so much more you can do with your mental health and your self-care.
Yes, yes. And thank you again, Savanna and Exceptional Heroes, and to Monroe and Shelby, because they are also an integral part of self-care.
Yes.
And self-love, So I'm grateful for this dialogue and, let's keep it going.
Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at exceptional_heroes and Somi at Samara Bella. And go check out our website. We have merch, t-shirts, hoodies, whatever you want is there. And always remember to listen, love, connect. Bye.